Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. We're going to do a deep dive into NixOS, and I'm going to run through downloading the ISO, putting that on a USB stick, booting from the USB stick, and installing. But if you already know how to do that, I will include timestamps, so feel free to skip across and you can start the video where you'd like. So I'm going to go ahead and click on download, scroll down, and we want the graphical 64-bit. And I'm just going to let this download, be right back, and we'll put this on a USB stick. All right, it looks like our download did finish. So now what we'll do is we'll bring up Fedora Media Writer, select our ISO, click on write, type in your password, and we'll let that write to the USB. And then when this finishes, you'll restart your computer, strike F10, F11, or F12. One of those will be your boot menu key. And then you'll select your USB stick that you just wrote the ISO to, and that'll boot it up to the installer. And we can continue the install together. All right, and we've made it to the first login here. I'm going to go ahead and bring up the terminal. And let's do a system update. So we're going to do sudo nix channel -- update. And this is going to fetch the updates for us. And then this next command is actually going to install them for us. Let's do NixOS. Instead of channel this time, we're going to do rebuild switch. And the only thing that I've done after I logged in for the first time was I changed the wallpaper. And this came from the NixOS GitHub repository, so I'll include this in the description. All right, and we're just going to give this a reboot. We're back in, so let's go ahead and bring up the terminal again. And I'm going to go ahead and add this to favorites just so we've got it. So when I click on super, it just pops up there. So I'm going to show you this. This is going to fail, but we'll just go ahead and do it anyway. So do Fastfetch, command not found. So this is where the difference with NixOS really shows. So instead of going and doing a sudo apt or a sudo DNF like in Debian or Fedora, NixOS is declarative. So what we've got to do is we've got to open up the Nix config file and modify that to where we can specify that we want Fastfetch installed. So let's go ahead and do that. Just going to up arrow sudo nano /nixOS config.nix. That's the one we need. Put in your password. And then we're going to scroll through this guy. Here we go. You can see I already installed Git. I was testing out some stuff earlier. I'm just going to go ahead and add Fastfetch here. Control O to write it out. Control X. And then I like to go back in just to make sure that it did take the change. Yep. Git and Fastfetch. Cool. And then we've got to actually commit the changes. So gonna up arrow. Okay, here we go. Sudo NixOS rebuild switch. That's going to commit those changes and it should install Fastfetch for us. And another cool thing is I don't believe we have to restart for those changes to take effect. So I'm just going to do Fastfetch without a reboot. And you can see we've got it. Make that larger there so we can see. And we're on NixOS 25.11, kernel 7.0, a little under 1,500 Nix system packages. The shell is bash 533. Desktop environment is KDE Plasma. Window manager is KWin on Wayland. We're only using 1.3 gigs out of our 4 that I've allocated to this virtual machine. And I don't have a swap. So very handy way that you can install software, make it declarative to where you can take that config.nix file, copy it down to an external hard drive, and then you can reduplicate your install on different machines very easily. All right, let's take a look at the system monitor. Okay, our CPU's spiking between 25% and 15-ish, and we're only using 1.4 gigs. And this gives us more of a histogram of our CPU usage and our memory, as well as network. And then we can see what processes are actually eating up the RAM there. Normally I'll go in and show you the wallpapers in a distro, right click and go into the desktop and the wallpapers. But this Plasma release is just the default Plasma wallpapers. But what I will show you is what I've downloaded here from the NixOS Art Master. All these different NixOS wallpapers here. They're pretty cool. And I'll link this in the description as well. Just arrow through these real quick. Ooh, I really like that one. So overall, some really nice wallpapers. And like I said, it's on GitHub. I'll include the link in the description. All right, let's take a look at system settings. Plasma 6.5.6, framework 6.20, Qt version 6.10.2, kernel 7.0.1 on Wayland. And then I've just carved out 2 virtual processors and 4 gigs of RAM. And I'm running a virtual machine. And that's the system settings. Okay, and to get Steam installed, it's a little bit different. It's not just a edit to config, throw Steam in there. So if you noticed earlier when I was scrolling down, the way Firefox is installed is the same way Steam has to be installed. Here we go. So I'm just going to put this together. So I'm going to say install Steam, and then let's bring it up. And this is just the Nix wiki. So if you go to nixos.wiki/wiki/Steam, you can get this string. Programs.steam. Okay, we're going to go ahead and write that out. And then it should be as simple as doing the sudo NixOS rebuild switch to commit those changes. Okay, and the error message I'm getting when installing Steam is because I've ran out of disk space. When I carved out this VM, I should have gave it more than 20 gigs. But when you go to install it, you shouldn't see this. This is basically me running out of disk space. See, failure, build failure may be caused by lack of disk space. So when you do this, you won't see that. And that's going to do it for today's video. Here are some other videos you may find helpful as well. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.